Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today we have a special podcast because my friend Okenno, the rehab king, is buying a hotel. And he brought his partners Laura Hoff and Robert Mlackar. Is that how you say that right, Robert?
Mlackar.
Mlackar, okay. He brought his partners on board to showcase how it is that you buy a hotel. Okay, I never bought a hotel personally, so there's gonna be a lot of lessons learned for me. And hopefully, if you're watching this and you want to buy a hotel, you take notes, and also you hit up Okenno because he's got the formula to it. But before we get into the whole deal making, let's start with the ladies first. Who is Laura Hoff?
Hi, everybody. Laura Hoff. I have actually been in commercial construction for my entire career. So I have developed many hotels, multifamily hospitals. I love the construction aspect. I love the development aspect. So although this is my first hotel I am buying, I've developed quite a few hotels from the very beginning, land acquisition, procurement, all the way to the end with coordination with the hoteliers. And it's very exciting. So I'm excited to be on the other side of the table and an owner with these two wonderful partners.
Awesome. What about you, Robert? What's your background?
So my background is I've done hospitality for about 13 years. Initially started as a director of sales for one hotel, then did director of sales for two hotels, grew into an area director for 5 hotels, and eventually transitioned into the GM role. I liked being in charge of the whole thing pretty much, not just sales, but operations. And I opened a new hotel and then took over a hotel that was kind of struggling. They lost the GM, they lost the AGM, the housekeeping manager, and so forth. And I think I took that hotel over in about November of that year. And then the following year, we were able to win a gold award within the Marriott brand, which is a top 10% in intent to recommend. Did that for a little while. And then COVID hit. I think everybody's familiar with COVID. It definitely did a number to the hospitality. So what happened is the company that I worked for, the owner decided to pretty much eliminate the corporate structure for cost saving standpoint. And did that for a few months. And then he reached out to me directly and asked me to run the company for him. So I transitioned from a GM to a president of a smaller management company. And at the time, I was in charge of 4 hotels, then was able to add additional hotels, got it up to 5 to 6 and so forth, and managed a portfolio of Marriott hotels, IHG hotels, and also Choice. And I love what I do, but at the same time, I always wanted to be a hotel owner. And if you rewind 10 years ago, I never thought it's going to be possible. I thought the entry barriers are going to be too high. And met Laura, and I'm sure we'll get into how I met her, but we're very, very close, and I'm super excited of actually being an owner rather than just on the W-2 side, and we'll get more into what I do and so forth in a little bit.
Awesome. What about you, Okenno? I mean, most people know you through my audience, but why don't you give us a quick rundown on your background, where you come from, and all that?
Hey, what's up? What's up, y'all? And for those who don't know me, my name is Okenno. I'm from Jamaica. Came here in 2015, joined the army. Then I house hacked my way. Then I found Burr, and that's how I met these people. Because from Burr, I had a mastermind with my OG Nate Berger. He he has a partner, Mike. So I met Mike through Nate, and through Mike Mastermind, I met Laura, and then I met Laura. Laura introduced me to Robert, which is a part of the mastermind. So it's just crazy. There's one thing we all have here in common is mastermind. And that's how I really like keeping engaged now and be able to speak with you because I've been coming to your masterminds religiously. I don't not miss any of them. So yeah, that's me. I transitioning. I have a few doors right now. I started flipping. I do wholesale, but now like the Monopoly game, I'm trying to get that red hotel. So this is why I'm here now. I'm just trying to work up the cycle. I did my part. I did my rehab. Did my flips. But if you can go big, why not? And we'll discuss later why on the possibility how that's being even a reality now or close to.
It is a reality. So how do you guys find this deal? Like how did this deal come to your table? Who found it?
Um, so I found the deal.
Okay.
It's in Lincoln, Nebraska, which is a little bit obscure to a lot of folks, but it's actually where I grew up.
I
And
actually
so
I
the only
own
reason I
property
went there,
in Grand Island, which is like an hour and a half away from Lincoln. So I know I've been to Lincoln, so I know exactly where that is.
okay, yeah. So I kind of was looking there just for fun. It's a pretty tough market to find properties out there when you're a first-time investor. So I said, well, really, hopefully not many people are looking there. And this one had been on the market for a few months.
So
And
it was an
so
on
finally,
market deal.
yeah, this was an on-market deal, and it had been sitting there for quite a while. I don't know the whole story if they had, offers that fell through or whatnot, but I know we weren't the first offer, and I know we weren't the lowest offer, the highest offer, I should say. So, found it. I'm familiar with the area. I really was only looking in areas that I was familiar with for hotels because it scares me to go in other areas that you may not know everything around it and how the people are and who may come there. So that's how we found it.
Okay. And you found it. You I guess you hired an agent and you presented an offer. You guys
So
negotiated.
I will tell you what I found out in the commercial world. You typically don't hire your own agent. A lot of the times, and maybe this isn't for everybody, but this is what I had found out in the hotel space I was playing in. You use the seller's broker and they broker both sides typically. If you bring in an agent, they may not take your offer seriously, which is very different than the residential side of the world. Again, this is my experience. It may not be typical for everybody, but it's what I had. So I actually approached a few brokers to represent me and they refused. They said, that's offensive in the commercial space. So that was new to me.
Really? I didn't know that either. Now I focus on the single family side, so I've done some commercial stuff, but it's you're right. I've called the agent directly and I've dealt with them directly in those times. But I had never had an agent tell me that it is offensive to go out there and I guess get your own representation to go and negotiate with another agent. So you and how do you guys come around putting an offer and getting it accepted?
So obviously we did our due diligence, did our initial underwriting. One, you got to see if the numbers work. Can you buy it? Can you make money? You obviously can't buy something you're going to lose money on. So we did some initial underwriting, made an offer in the form of a letter of intent that we sent to him, said, here's what we'll offer you. Here's some high level terms. And of course they rejected our first offer. It was too low. So we negotiated and met in the middle. They were asking more than we ended up settling on. And we ended up settling for more than our initial offer. So it was definitely a negotiation to get to that point.
Understood. Once you had the offer accepted, then now you open escrow. What do you guys do next?
The floodgates open. They just open. And I can't even, it's hard to remember. I have to go back in all my notes to find out exactly what the process was. But essentially, once you go under contract, you get all the data. So what they put online, that you sign your NDA for is only the tip of the iceberg. And then once you sign the purchase and sale agreement that, yes, I'm going to buy it and I need all this information, the floodgates just open with everything that you get. All the financials, tax returns, the STR reports, basically you name it, you get the old surveys, the old appraisals, everything that the property has to offer, all their maintenance records, contract information, basically anything that the hotel has that it operates with, whether that's financials, employees, payroll, and you got to take all of this data that's just dumped in your lap. I can't even tell you how much data it is. And then you have to analyze all of it. And you have to figure out, okay, how do all these pieces fit together? Are they really bringing in the money that they say they're bringing in? Are they really spending what they say they're spending, or is it maybe higher or lower? And that's where Robert came in really helpful. We met Robert probably a month into the deal. We already had the deal when we met Robert and Okenno. We used to have another person on our team. But when we met these guys, we already had the deal under contract. And so it was like fate that we met. And Robert really has been instrumental, and I'll let him kind of talk about how he analyzes more in detail the numbers. But from a high level, you really have to do a high level analyzation of all this, and then you can dive into the details to figure out, is it really true? Is that what it costs to operate it? Is that how many people actually stay there? Is that what they pay?
Yes. So, and this is what I like about you guys is that number one, you found the deal. Number two, Robert, from his management experience, can actually call whether it's true or not. You know, hey, can this be improved? Can this be managed under these numbers? Are these people hiding information from us? Because it happens a lot. You know, when you're getting into a transaction where there is P&Ls and things of that nature that, you know, because I've never bought a hotel, and anybody can bluff me with numbers because I don't know the hotel industry. I don't have the background of managing a property, you know, like Robert has. So, Robert, what can you tell us about what are the things that you look for as a hotel? I wouldn't say manager, but as a hotel director, as the president of the hotel, what are you looking for in terms of is this a good deal? Can I improve this deal? Are they calling bluff numbers when it comes to the amount of nights people are staying or the payroll that they're running? Because sometimes they lower their payroll, so the NOI is much better, right? So can you tell us a little bit of what the things that you look for in a hotel in order for the hotel to make sense as an investment for you?
Of course. So when I looked at this particular deal, just like Laura mentioned, there's a lot of data that was shared. And what you can't do as an owner, you can't necessarily bluff numbers on the STAR report. For people that don't know, the STAR report on a weekly basis, you'll get your performance compared to your comp set. You'll see what was your occupancy, what was your ADR, what was your RevPAR, what was your RevPAR index, how much of the fair share did you get, right? So when we looked at that, it's a 110 key hotel. I looked at the occupancy. They're lower. They're trailing the comp set on the occupancy side, on the ADR side. That means that there's a lot of upside. And I think, Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, if the hotel actually would outperform on the occupancy side and the ADR side and be super dominant, it wouldn't necessarily be such a good deal because now we can come in and really improve the top line, expenses, NOI, and the value of the hotel.
So let's take that back real quick, because you're going very fast. And that's what happens when you know the subject, okay? You tend to just fire the rounds. And so let's sum it up again. You come in, you said something about the owner not being able to bluff numbers on what report? What is it called?
STAR report.
It's the STAR report.
The STAR report, okay.
And the STAR report. And what it is, it's a weekly report that you get on how did your hotel perform compared to your competition, right? And it's a good way to find out, are you getting your fair share of the market? And the rule of the thumb is pretty much that as an owner, as a hotel, you at least want to get 100% of the RevPAR index, which means that on average, all the hotels, you are getting your fair share. If you're at 90% RevPAR index, that means the other hotels in the comp set are outperforming you on the RevPAR side, which could be a combination of occupancy and ADR. Okay, ADR, for the people that don't know, ADR is the average daily rate. And occupancy is the amount of rooms that you sell compared to the available rooms.
What do you think in this particular case? Where do you think the ADR was with this particular hotel?
So the ADR is on the lower side, is in the 60s, and so is the occupancy. It's on the lower side. And the more Laura and I kind of looked into the deal, we saw a lot of upside. We saw a lot of opportunities. And not necessarily to bash the current owner, but the way I manage hotels, I'm very proactive. I look at the top line, I look at the sales, because when you run a hotel, it starts with the sales, right? You want to make sure that you have the guest in there, that they're paying a good rate, and so forth. And then very closely, you got to make sure that the operations are running very smooth. Because if you sell a dream, and that was one of the first lessons that I learned as a salesperson, if you sell a dream and you service a nightmare, you're not going to be successful. I'm going to bring the customers in, but if the housekeeping is not up to par, if the front desk is not friendly, if the breakfast person is not doing a really good job, it only takes one or two people that kind of mess up the experience for a client. And if that client is an important client and they pull out and go to a different hotel, you're talking a lot of revenue lost, right? So when we looked at this deal, I definitely see a lot of upside that we can come in, be very proactive, change our approach, and make sure that we also do direct sales, go after accounts. There's a lot of construction coming into Lincoln, Nebraska, and we can go over that in a little bit. But my background within hospitality started as a director of sales of an extended stay property. The hotel was a Residence Inn by Marriott, and the difference is for an extended stay property, it's a hotel that has a suite with a kitchen and really is geared towards travelers that stay for 5 nights or longer. And the beautiful thing about extended stay is that you have a base. It's your extended stay occupancy. You have a base that fills the hotel. So if you're running your hotel, let's say with a 50% occupancy at a very reasonable ADR, you already have at the beginning of the month a good amount of business on the books. And what's also nice is that now you're effectively shrinking down the inventory of your hotel. So let's keep it simple. If it's a 100-room hotel and you have 50% occupancy, you only have 50 rooms left to sell, right? Now, with less inventory, you can drive rate. You can increase your rates and make more money on the remaining rooms, okay? And then the other aspect of the extended stay portion and the corporate stay is that if you have people that are staying for 5 nights or longer, they tend to be less expensive from a CPOR, cost per occupied room. A lot of times they're not going to ask for housekeeping, right? So you're saving on labor, you're saving on supplies, on electricity, and so forth. And a lot of times they're also not going to come down for breakfast. And it's just a lot cheaper for you to have these types of people in there when you look at it from a CPOR standpoint. So when we verified these numbers, we're seeing that we can do much, much better than they're doing right now. And then on the expense side, and if you have any questions,
No, you're good. You're a great. You're good at explaining, so that you tell it in a way which is very easy to digest. So you're doing an amazing job.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. So, and then when it came to the expenses, I looked through the documents that were available through the P&L, through expenses. And the way I do it, I look at expenses for each line item. So you're looking at your breakfast cost, you're looking at your labor cost, you're looking at laundry, housekeeping, you name it, right? And one of the things that kind of popped up as the first thing that I saw is that when I ran the numbers, I looked at how much money did they spend on breakfast, how many rooms did they sell that year, and then it gave me the cost per occupied room, that it was $8.50 per occupied room in breakfast cost. And for somebody that's in the industry, that's an insanely high number for breakfast, regardless of what type of hotel you're running, right? Typically, the hotels that I manage, let's say select service, you would be looking at maybe $3, $3.50 per occupied room. So all of a sudden, that was a thing that popped up, and I'm like, well, you know what? There's probably something going on that we can definitely improve. And the factors could be very, very, very different. It could be just the breakfast person doesn't necessarily know how to effectively do it. Maybe they cook too much. Maybe they have too much waste. They throw stuff away, or there could be some stuff disappearing. Right. Some people might just take that remaining breakfast home and so forth. So just by bringing the breakfast cost down from 850 per occupied room down to 350 per occupied room, let's say you sell 2,000 rooms a year with a $5,000 difference. With a $5 difference, you're talking about $10,000 in expenses that you're saving, right? And then when you look at the value of the hotel and the cap rate of 8%, everything that you save divided by the cap rate is going to incrementally or drastically increase your value. So what I did, I essentially did a budget. I developed a budget on how I would run the hotel, how based on the top line that we had for the number of rooms that we're going to sell, how many hours we're going to have for front desk, how many hours we're going to have for housekeeping, for laundry, and everything else. And that's a very elaborate sheet and process. And the interesting thing is that a lot of people, even GMs in the industry, they're not too fond of doing the budgets. It's one time of the year, it's a budget season. The majority of the GMs, they don't like it. Me, for whatever reason, I actually enjoy budgets. I'm kind of a numbers guy. I love Excel. So I look at it very meticulously, and you can look at every single line item, and you can see, okay, you know what, we can bring the hours down or the cost down, and then based on that, you create your budget, and that'll eventually tell you if it actually makes sense, if it's a good deal, and that information was obviously shared with Laura as well, and she did the additional calculations, and that's how we derived at the fact that it's a very, very viable deal that we're super excited on getting under our management.
Amazing. So I'll ask a questions here. So Laura, are you a real estate investor?
I am. I have a few single family rentals, and I've flipped a couple. I started 18 months ago.
Okay,
So,
perfect. And what about you, Robert?
I am. I wish I would have started real estate much longer or a lot earlier. And I think that probably is a sentiment for a lot of people that are getting into real estate. But I have a few long-term rentals. I also have a short-term rental in San Antonio. And my wife and I initially started as a flipping business. What we wanted to do, we wanted to buy the property and flip it and sell it. But if you recall, in the beginning, I said I wanted to be a hotel owner. I always thought that the entry barrier is going to be too high. And for me at that point, I was like, you know what? I think this can be a very successful short-term rental. So I did the same thing. I did a budget. I ran some numbers. I did a projection for a conservative, a moderate, and aggressive. And we launched the property in San Antonio. And it's actually it's outperforming my aggressive projection, and it's a lot of fun for me because it's almost like a hotel, right? The difference is that you don't have 110 rooms; you essentially have one property, and there's definitely challenges in managing the right way, in pricing it the right way. I love it. My wife and I really enjoy it, but with this particular opportunity, I do want to do hotels, and I'm super excited for being part of this.
Awesome. So Okenno, how do you come into play? Like,
I was wondering when you're gonna ask that.
yes,
I got you. So how it came into play is I got a call, literally. I got a call a day or two. Correct me if I'm wrong, Laura. I got a call a day or two or a text. They have an inspection to inspect the hotel. Of course, I'm the rehab king, so I'm like, I'm not gonna let this miss me. I was, speaking about being at the right time at the right time, waiting for opportunity. They're like, okay, Lincoln, it's my first time flying to Nebraska. I had to Google wherever and I just took a leap of faith, booked my flight literally the night before. Booked my flight, tell Laura I'm there. She picked me up and she brought me there. I'm like, whoa, that was my first time in Nebraska. We went down there and I inspected the hotel because at first it was just okay, a piggyback type of situation where okay, I'm just here to see if you guys are missing anything, a second pair of eyes, I must say, or just on the rehab side, inspecting and stuff, and after inspecting everything, I don't know how it came about, and this is what I love about this relationship, Ricardo. None of us planned to be together. It just formed, and that's the type of partnership I love. It literally is no force. Everyone just fall into place. Laura's found his deal, is her deal. Did Laura found out? Okay, it's more of a management play. Boom. It's the misutilization. Blah blah blah. Robert comes into play. Then Laura needed to inspect and do her thing. Laura does a construction background, but I also have construction background as well. So I was like, two eyes better than one, and that's how I came into play. So now my team is responsible, and my job, although I fit in the equation, is I'm responsible to do the PIP, the property improvement plan. I'm in charge of doing all the renovations, make sure everything is up to standard. We're also changing the flag, so it's my job to come up with a plan and make sure everything comes on budget, below budget, and ultimately increase the top line, all that good stuff. Long story short, the being at the right place at the right time, you know, mastering my craft, not just being everywhere. I don't know nothing that Robert does. I'm not good at what Laura does. So if you ask questions about the numbers and all that stuff, you go to Laura. If you want to go a question about what you can do to improve the place in terms of bringing in more sales, more income, Robert. But if you want to know how to make sure things are in place, repairs, stuff like that, that's what I come into play. I'm the rehab guy. So that's how this entire relationship came together.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
I do see the compliment in between everybody here on the call, right? So each one of you have a superpower that bring to the table, right? And what I want to do is I want you guys, maybe Laura, maybe you're probably the right person to ask this question. Other than what Robert said when it came to improving cost in the kitchen by breakfast. And Robert, I'm gonna take a before I ask the question. I'm a titanium member with Marriott. I've actually been an ambassador in the past, and I look at all those things that you're talking about. I look at the face of the people serving breakfast, and sometimes I wonder what is wrong with that person. Why is she mad today, or why is that guy acting up like that? Right? How are they hiring people here in this particular hotel? I look at the quality of the food. I look at, is the person greeting me when I pull up at 1 o'clock in the morning? Do they have a smile, or are they mad because I showed up to the desk? Yeah, I mean, I've seen it all. I've seen it all, right? And if you travel long enough, you're gonna encounter multiple things, especially the smaller hotels, right? The lower budget hotels, the hotels that are $60 to $120 a night, or up to maybe even up to $150 a night, like the Stendex stays, the courtyards and things like that, And so, even though right now the prices are going up, they're getting more expensive nowadays. But I will. If somebody put on the comments, I will be mad at 2 a.m. Yes, I mean, I get it, right? But that's their job. That they're supposed to be fulfilling a spot doing that job. And I think about it as a manager. Every time I go in and I see those deficiencies, I'm like, if I was the owner or the manager, this is what I would do to fix this hotel. Every single time I walk into a hotel like that and I get a bad impression, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. The one thing that really, really comes to my mind is the bed. Why are some of these hotels? Why do they have some beds that are horrible? They're. I mean, you can't even sleep in there. It's you got. You try to go lay down, and honestly, probably stay up because you have something hitting your back or something. Like. But let me ask Robert that question. Why do they? Why is there not a contingency plan for changing these beds on a regular basis, especially after they've been used for so many times by thousands of people?
Excellent question, and I love. Before I answer that question, I love what you said about being a titanium and traveling, and a little bit sharing your experience of staying in hotels, about the breakfast person, about the front desk person, and I couldn't agree with you more. That's exactly what I've seen. I've been a traveler. I love to travel, and that's exactly what I focus on, and I share that with a team. So when we take over this hotel, one of the things that I do want to do is I kind of want to make sure that the culture is the right culture. And I want the people and the team to understand that their job is important. Every single person is important. And it only takes one person to upset a guest and to make a stay mediocre or bad. Just like you said, it could be the front desk person that's mad at 2 o'clock, right? Or the breakfast person. And we're in the business of making sure that each guest has the best possible experience. So when they do come back to the area, that they don't even think about staying somewhere else, but they book with you. That's the repeat business, and that's what I want to do. So kind of going back to your question as far as mattresses and so forth. So all the hotel brands have specific standards, specific requirements, PIPs, property improvement plans, and so forth. And after X amount of years, you have to do light renovations or full renovations, and also replace the mattresses, right? And depending on the brand, Marriott, Hilton, and Hyatt, and so forth, their standards probably going to be higher than maybe of some smaller or independent owners. And obviously, it's a cost issue too, right? And you have a different philosophy maybe on how you want to run a hotel. So that's why you run into hotels that vary based on the quality as far as mattresses. But typically, if you stay at a Marriott, you should really have a consistent experience, right? Now, the reality is it's probably not the case. There are big differences of hotels. And one of the things, and I'll leave it at that, is what I shared with my staff. I would rather have an older hotel with a top-notch team that takes care of customer service than a new hotel with a team that doesn't care. And when it comes to hiring the right people, definitely you want to, or a lot of people look at experience. A lot of people look at XYZ. One of the keywords for me is care. Does the person care? And do they have empathy? If they don't, they might not necessarily be the right fit for this position, right? They might they might want to work in a different industry, but in the hospitality industry, we are all salespeople, and we want to make sure that each guest has the best possible.
Yeah, I remember going to a hotel, and I just couldn't sleep well in that bed. And then I was gonna rebook it again, and I didn't do it because I'm like, you know what? I remember the last time I stayed at that particular hotel, and it was a nice hotel. It was one of the nice brands. I'm not gonna mention names or anything like that, but I avoided it, and I said, you know what? I couldn't sleep well that night, and I look, I'm a sleeping beauty. If I can get my 8 hours, I will. And sleeping for me is very important. But I also went to a Marriott. It was a JW Marriott, and I slept so well. I actually got up and took the sheets off, and I said, "Let me see what mattress this guy." And it was a Serta mattress. Mm-hmm. Guess what I use in my house?
Serta.
Yep, the same mattress they had. I bought it, and that's where I sleep because my sleeping experience was so good that I said, you know what? I want to repeat that at home. So yeah, very important when it comes to the whole experience, like you said. But now I want to ask Laura a question. Other than what Robert talked about, which was improving the kitchen, improving the pricing structure for the hotel, the maintenance, and basically everything that has to do for running a hotel. He did an amazing job on explaining every single one of the points. Why does this investment make sense?
That's a great question. And there are so many different facets to the answer of that question. Robert hit on a lot of them. Those are some of the main financial reasons why it makes sense. The other reason is based on the fact that it is not performing at the market standard. And the STR report that Robert's talking about is a third-party report that the current owners can pay to get. And they pull comp sets and they pick hotels that are like rooms, like area, and like flag types. Like he was talking about, this is a limited service, a buffet breakfast and whatnot. And then they put these all on a report and say, how do you fall within this comp set? And because this hotel is underperforming in that comp set, if we just got up to match what everybody else was doing, that instantly raises the value of the hotel. So
By how much?
doing
What percentage?
Percentage wise, I'd have to run numbers on that. But ultimately, round numbers, we're buying it for 4 million. We're going to put in about $1 million, and we're looking to sell it for 7.3, 7.4 in 5 years.
But that is just matching the current market, right?
That would be just matching the current market. So if we
That's not even
exceed
improving the current market.
correct. So that's if the cap rate, which we didn't even go into, kind of like interest rates, the higher the interest rate, the lower the price can be. The higher the cap rate, the lower the price. So if this cap rate comes down, the hotel could be worth more. There's a lot of stuff that I won't go into all the details of, but just matching the current market value for occupancy and ADR, meaning getting the same amount of people to our hotel. And I will tell you, I went to stay at this hotel after we bought it, not the time Okenno went, but we went to stay there just to see what it is. Pictures lie. Let's go look at it, walk every room. They were booked, fully sold out. There was a country concert in town, fully booked. So we had to stay at an unnamed hotel across the street. That sucker should be condemned. It was horrible.
Wow.
And they get better ratings for this one. And so just the fact of doing everything Robert's talking about, marketing, getting some contracts with local businesses. I don't know if he went into detail with that, but there's one of the reasons I really like this hotel is there's a lot of different ways to bring people in. One of the reasons that a lot of sector failed during COVID is they relied solely on tourism. Nobody traveled. So one of the things we're going to be targeting is not just bringing in tourism. Everybody knows the Huskers, or most people do. Maybe not Okenno. He does now. But Nebraska shows up for the Huskers. I went to college there, and looking out of my dorms freshman year, the whole parking lots turned red and white with cars. It was crazy. And so people come from all over the surrounding towns to stay there. I call Lincoln a big small town. It's the big town in the middle of a bunch of small towns, and people come there for sporting events, for concerts, for healthcare. So there is a leisure part that we are going to be targeting, but this is right next to local businesses. I know the area. My dad worked in the area for 30 years before he retired, across the street from this hotel, actually. And so We're going to go target a lot of these companies. Their bosses don't live in Lincoln, but their bosses visit a lot. They need somewhere to stay. We might as well get those, what Robert's calling more the extended stay contracts. Even if it's 1 or 2 people from a few companies, if we get 10 to 20 people, that's a consistent rate. And that those companies are, Coca-Cola, they're car manufacturers, stuff that isn't really going to shut down. Car manufacturing may have shut down a little bit during COVID, but it didn't shut down completely. And bosses still have to travel to make sure things happen. And there's, local sporting events also that people travel in for. So it's not necessarily leisure travel, but we're really going to try to bring a lot of people in from diverse backgrounds to really bring up. That's how we're going to target bringing up all the occupancy, bringing up the rates. And if one sector falls off, we've got the other ones to stand on and beef up. So we're not relying solely on one factor to get the numbers up to what Robert's saying. We've got a lot of benefits in this hotel. It was fully renovated in 2019. And then COVID hit. Nobody went there. So one of the benefits we have is it doesn't have the wear and tear that a lot of hotels have that you're talking about with the beds, which is going to help us keep a lot of the costs down, whether it be renovations with Okenno or replacing mattresses like you're talking about and sheets. There's so many different things that we're doing with this. I'm sure I've missed a ton of them.
Yeah,
but
I want to help you out with that too, Laura. So Ricardo, you was in the Army. One thing that I've noticed being a total visitor from there, it's right next to the airport, and the airport has a military base there. Is it a military base or is it just Laura? What is it? A military base or is it just a headquarters? It's reserves. And what I know for sure, being in the reserves myself for many years, there's a lot of soldiers that travel, and I think they say TPU. I don't know the fancy word that they say. So it's right next to there, and it's a huge one. So, and they have a brand new restaurant building up in front of it, in front of the hotel. What's the name of the restaurant, Laura?
It's not open yet. It's supposedly the End Zone. It's their second location in Lincoln. So hopefully they have a big following that comes and maybe stays in our hotel.
Good. I may even stay. I have a property in Grand Island that I go to, and I'm actually gonna list it for sale pretty soon. So I think Grand Island is like an hour and some change. I forgot. But I flew in into Lincoln actually, and I might have even seen your hotel or your future hotel when I went there last year. So okay, so that is why this deal makes sense. Is because there is a huge upside when it comes to bringing new sales, and being creative with the offers, right? Because you're being creative with the extended stays. You're being creative with going directly to clients that are bringing people into town. You're not just waiting for people to walk in or relying on the internet to push you on a pricing war against other people, or other hotels. Also, Robert's expertise on running hotels in the past is really what really makes sense here, is because now you have an expert that can look at everything that can be improved from an operation standpoint. And and of course, you, Okenno, because of your rehab experience and having your own crew, and running your own crew to renovate the hotel, which it doesn't seem like you need a lot. It needs a lot. It's just it just tweaks and peaks basically.
It's literally paint and changing mirrors to satisfy what the new brand wants. They want light in the mirrors and stuff like that. Reglazed tubs. It's literally fluff and buff.
Easy stuff.
Yes. So to take on that, one of the things I forgot to mention is we are changing brands, like Robert mentioned. We are changing to be a Wyndham hotel. And I had this hotel under contract, and I was talking to one of my contacts at Wyndham, telling them, hey, I got a hotel under contract. I might, send it to you and see what you want to do, because you send these hotels out to these brands. This is one of the things you do when you get a hotel. Send it out to these brands and say, hey, I got this hotel. Will you take a look at it? Give me a PIP, like Okenno was mentioning. Tell me what I have to do to this hotel to reflag it with your flag. And then they give you their property improvement plan, and we have to price it. They don't tell you what it costs. We have to price it. And so we price it out, figure out, can we leave the hotel open, which we are. We don't have to shut the hotel down when we do renovations. Yes. We're just going to systematically do them.
Yeah.
And then, figure out what does it cost. And then you go back to them and negotiate. And when you negotiate with brands, they give you one of two things. One is key money, meaning they will give you money to improve the plan up front, somewhere in the range, anywhere from nothing to $2,000 a room. And I won't say what we're getting on this one. If you want to know, you can reach out directly.
Right. Yeah, it's irrelevant right now.
We're getting significant key money, which basically reimburses us for the cost to turn it into their brand. But anyways, when I was talking to Wyndham, I found out that literally one of their VPs was targeting this hotel because Wyndham has nothing in the area.
Wow.
And so by happen chance, through relationship, I was talking to somebody, and he instantly conferenced his boss in and said, Laura has your hotel under contract. You need to talk to her right now. Oh, it was, and they made a pretty significant offer, which is why we're going with them versus some of the other ones. We didn't have to shut the hotel down. They made a really good offer to turn it into a Wyndham, and it would cost less to do that than to keep it what it is. So that is something I also forgot to mention. When you get a hotel under contract, you got to do all of these negotiations with the brands. They all want something different. And one of them, we would have had to shut the hotel down. So not only did it cost more, but we'd lose all that revenue while it was shut down. And so there's a lot of moving pieces that go into it, and you have to mesh all of them together.
Yeah, especially when they're big names, right? They all have their ways, their corporate structures on how they do things, and if you want to be of that certain name, then you have to abide by their laws, and it's they can make it more difficult or easier depending on which way you go, right? So somebody says here, it'd be nice if you can do a pack or price for the wholesale meetings. Let's see, about for the wholesale meetings that will attract more businesses. Yeah, possibly.
I think they mean a package price
Yeah,
for
package
wholesale meat.
price.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a wholesale event. What they mean is
No, I
more.
think I know what they mean. We do have a conference room, so I think they're talking like I'm guessing they're probably saying how we can host event there, which Laura can elaborate more. I think that's and Robert, we have a conference room that's down. I don't know if we're gonna open it to the public to generate more income, but that's also a part of the plan. So I love that question. Yes, that room, and I'm getting a head nod from my partners. Yeah, we're gonna have that open up. And Ricardo, I hope we can have like a mastermind there, brother. We can give you some discount rate so you can throw on the events in Lincoln.
Absolutely. Hey, look, I spend multiple six figures in hotels every year just throwing events, right?
I witnessed it. I witnessed it. So hopefully we can, give you some discount. We can come there, just to, attract, get some feedbacks.
how big of an event space do you have?
Oh,
It's not huge. It's 1,100 square feet. It can only hold about 70 to 80 people.
Still good enough
in
for
that space.
for monthly meetings and conferences and things like that. That local real estate investors can go there and use the space, and yeah, that's what they were meaning to. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, 70 people is more than enough for these small meetups, right? And that's revenue that you get through the door, and people stay overnight, because like in Houston, when I used to do those events, we offer a lot of alcohol, and I didn't want people driving after going to one of my events if they had consumed alcohol. So we was like, look, why don't you stay here at the hotel, leave the next day, and do it that way, right? So any way you can improve revenue, you definitely wanna do it. And us being in the real estate space, that's easy. You just throw your own real estate event at the hotel. You invite all the investors, and you say, this room is available for you guys to come do your events. Please come and do so. So, um, anyhow, if I want to be an investor in this particular deal, what are my next steps? What do we do?
first and foremost, you gotta be
Okenno?
accredited.
Okay.
We this is a 506C position, I mean opportunity. So you gotta be accredited. I'll let Laura elaborate. But yeah, you gotta be accredited. Go
Can
ahead,
you
Laura.
can you elaborate real quick? And I know what it is, Okenno, but I want the people that they don't know what an accredited investor is. Can you
So
explain real quick what an accredited investor is?
okay, so what an accredited investor is, you gotta make I think it's 250,000 or more per year, or 300,000 something like that per year, or you gotta have a net worth of over 1 million.
That's simple,
Yeah, keep it simple.
right? So, yeah, this is only for accredited investors. This is a 506C. So you are
Minimum investment is 50,000.
minimum investment is 50,000. This is only for people that want to passively be part owners of a hotel, right? And invest in the hotel itself. Um, and if you're not accredited, unfortunately, you cannot participate because non-accredited people cannot take part of a 506C. Now, if you're accredited, then this is completely for you. So make sure you either hit up Okenno, Laura, or Robert, or even myself, and I'll be more than happy to put you guys in contact with any single one of them. And what do you say, no, Okenno?
I'd rather they hit you up, Ricardo. I go by principle, and thank you for having us here. I'd rather they hit you up, and then you hit me up, and we go
Absolutely,
push
yeah.
it
But
up.
whichever way they come from, Okenno, at the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to be able to make this happen because I believe it's a great opportunity. I believe. Oh, there's my kids. They just showed up. That's what happens when you do a podcast from home, right? You have the special guests, and there comes one of them. So whether they come through me or not, Okenno, and they hit you guys up, you're eventually going to ask them, where do you guys, how do you hear about this, right? So,
Correct.
and that's part of how the people got to fill out the package on a 506C. How do
Correct.
they hear about the investment, right?
Correct.
Because you have to qualify your investors. I've done syndications as well, and part of it is qualifying the investors. So we got to make sure that the people are qualified, whoever's going to invest in this hotel, and I'm inviting you guys to do it. This looks like a great opportunity. I mean, I think you got the right pieces to the puzzle, Okenno. You have Laura, who sourced the deal and understands commercial investments and development. You have Robert, who has been in the hospitality space for a very long time, and he likes number, which is weird because not everybody likes to mess around
Start.
with Excel spreadsheets and P&Ls and NOIs and things of that nature, right? So
Yeah.
and then you come into play when it comes to doing the rehab of the property, um, which can be a make or break for a lot of projects. Okay,
Yep.
the hardest part of the real estate business is honestly managing renovations and rehabs.
Correct.
So I invite everybody watching this to send us a message, and we'll send you more information. We're able to send packages. Email has a email deck. Okenno has an email deck that he can be sending out for those of you that are interested. And guys, I wish you success on this project. I'm looking forward to one way or another help you do this. And if you have anything else to say, this is the time.
I want to say thank you, Ricardo, for even giving us the opportunity to come here. You see me coming from the bottom, meaning you see me from my first flip, see me, go work my way up. This is surreal to the sense that it's like, whoa, a couple of years ago, I'm flipping houses. Now I'm discussing hotels. I didn't skip the line. I did the work, still doing the work, and and it's beautiful how we invest in ourselves so we can be in a room to meet you on a personal level where I can have this meeting, where I can meet Laura, can meet Robert by investing in myself. So you out there watching, believe in yourself, invest in yourself. And you said something earlier, Ricardo. I want to correct it. It's a syndication, but I hate that word. This is more like a family. We are the team here is what makes sense. Laura, Robert, me, we're go getters. We put a lot on the line to make it happen, and this is just the beginning. We mark our faces. You're gonna see us all over. Just later right here first. But I want to tell you, Ricardo, thank you. Ricardo has an event on the 26th and the 27th. I will be there. Laura will be there. I don't know if Robert's gonna show up. But thank you, man. I don't know if Laura, what you got to say?
Yeah, thank you for having us. This has been great. And I will say, this is my first podcast I've ever done. So thank you
Whoa.
for letting me be on here.
Congratulations.
Okenno did my first webinar with me. So I'm just all sorts of full of new stuff. So I appreciate your patience with me if I flubbed anything up. But yeah, this has been great. I appreciate you having us. And if you want any more information, definitely hit up Ricardo. We've got pitch decks with all the numbers and the returns, and we won't bore everybody with that today, but definitely would love to share that with you. We are on a little bit of a short timeline, so if you're interested, make sure you ask sooner than later, because it is a first come, first serve basis.
Awesome. Yeah, no, you did a great job. And I'm happy that this is your first time doing a podcast. Maybe we'll have to do a second time so we can talk more about you. And we had somebody asking, can you invest only? How much is the interest? So it's a 50,000 minimum investment to be able to participate in this project. And then approximately, what is the approximate rate of return of this?
So the targeted equity multiple, meaning how much you'll get out of it, is 2.37. Meaning if you invest 100,000, we're going to hold it for 5 years, sell during year 6. So in totality, every year you'll get some returns, and after we sell it, if you put in 100,000, we are targeting that you get out 237,000.
Correct.
5 years, we're targeting to more than double your money. Internal rate of return, averaging about 18% to 19%. So it all depends on your perspective. For me, I love those returns because
No, that's amazing returns. That's good returns. Those are good numbers. So perfect. You know what it is, guys. Send me a message if you're interested in being a part of this, and we can disclose more information. Don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. Also, like Okenno said, January 26th and 27th, come meet Okenno in person. Hopefully, Laura will join us, and so is Robert. They can probably answer a lot of your questions at the event, and we'll take it from there. Until then, I'll see you on the next one.